I have this neighbor, and I am up to here with him. He thinks that he can just complain about me, make my life heck. Well, I have something coming for him. One day, he decides to mess with my pet, and that's the last straw. I know what his most prized possession is, and I'm going for it now. Hey all, I need some perspective here because this situation's been driving me up the wall, and I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting. A bit of a background, I'm a 27-year-old guy, just wrapping up my grad studies, and I live in this relatively quiet neighborhood. I'd say most of the people here are pretty cool. We all sort of look out for each other, and there's this unwritten code of mutual respect. Wow. Think the smell of barbecue in the summer, waving at each other in the morning, the kind of thing. So about 2 months ago, I noticed a moving truck outside the house next to mine. Naturally, I got a bit excited, new neighbors. Thinking it'd be a chance to make new friends, I whipped up a batch of some hot and fresh chocolate chip cookies, and decided to head over and introduce myself. I knocked. After a few moments, the door was answered by this dude, probably in his early 30s, with this sort of permanent scowl on his face. I smiled, extended the box of cookies, and went, "Hey man, I'm your neighbor next door, just wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood." His eye, looked at the cookies with clear disdain, then looked me up and down and said, thanks. He drawled sarcastically, and I waited for him to take the cookies, but instead, I'm on a strict diet. Trying to avoid junk. I was taken back, but hey, benefit of the doubt, right? Maybe he was stressed from the move or something, so I just said no worries. Just thought I'd say hi. If you need anything, just let me know, neighbor. He barely nodded and shut the door without another word. Okay, rude, but whatever. Life went on. Except things did not really get better. Every morning, as I'd leave for class or the gym, I tried to give him a friendly hello, good morning. If our paths seemed to cross, most of the time he just would ignore me, but sometimes he'd reply with a snarky comment like, once when I was heading out in my gym gear, he smirked and said, hey man, you trying to compensate for something? I was puzzled. Was he always this aggressive? I wasn't the only one he was like this with. I remember one Saturday, there was a neighbor-wide yard sale, and he was pretty much the only guy who did not participate. No biggie. But when Miss Anderson, the sweet 70-year-old from down the street, went over to ask if he had anything he wanted to offer for sale, he replied with, do I look like I need money, lady? Oh, and there was this time I found my cat Whiskers right there in his yard. Whiskers is an explorer, but he's pretty harmless, and when I went to fetch him, this guy came out yelling about how I should keep my, quote, pest off the property. It wasn't like Whiskers was tearing up his garden or something. He was just lounging on the grass, sunbathing. I've tried talking to some of my other neighbors about it, but it turns out they have their own not-so-pleasant encounters with him. Jenna, who lives across the street, tried to invite him over for her husband's birthday party, and he went on a rant about how he, quote, doesn't have time to party and has so much going on. Oh yeah, and Mike, from 2 houses down, he had a run-in with him because apparently Mike's music was too damn loud, and mind you, Mike's music is like soft jazz. I've been trying to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Moving can be stressful. Maybe he's having a rough time adjusting or has something going on in his personal life, but man, it's getting old. It's like he's on a mission to piss off the entire neighborhood. Last week, things got even more heated. I was having a few friends over for a grill out in my backyard, and we were just chilling, playing some music, not even loud, just background music. Out of the blue, he pops his head over the fence like a cartoon character and says, "Hey man, could you keep it down? Some people actually have a job." Well, I was flabbergasted. It was Saturday afternoon. My friends were shocked too, and Rob, one of my buddies, even tried to joke, said, "Hey man, why don't you come on over, join us? Might loosen you up a bit to have a beer." But Mr. Grumpy just gave him the death stare and disappeared back into his, house. And I've been trying to be the big person here, but it's hard when it feels like he's actively trying to make things difficult. Any advice would be appreciated. What's up, everybody? If you guys are new to the channel and you want daily revenge stories, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're about to hop into update 2, and if you think Mr. Grumpy Pants is bad so far, you've seen nothing yet. Update number 1. Hey again, everyone. First off, wow, I can't believe how many of you waited on my first post. I honestly thought I was going a bit mad, but seeing so many of you validate my feelings has been reassuring. So, it's been 2 weeks since my last update, and surprise, surprise, things have gotten weird with Mr. Grumpy, aka my very charming new neighbor. One thing I forgot to mention in my previous post, my husband Jared has been away on a work trip for the past month, so he hasn't personally witnessed most of this guy's antics. I've been filling him in on it, and he's just puzzled as I am. We decided that it's best for me to not confront the guy alone, especially given how intimidating he can be. But let me tell y'all this. About a week ago, I was sipping on my morning cup of coffee and gazing out the window when I saw Mr. Grumpy in his yard, looking smug with a leaf blower in hand. Now, I don't think much of it at first. It's fall after all, and leaves are everywhere. But as I continued watching, I realized what he was doing. Instead of gathering the leaves into a pile for disposal like any normal person, he was directing all of them straight into my yard, and yes, I was fuming. I mean, who does that? But then I remembered our pact. I should not confront him alone. And there was this one incident that seriously took the cake. Last Thursday, I had a few girlfriends over for a movie night, nothing crazy, just some wine, popcorn, and an overly dramatic rom-com. Around 11 p.m., I'd say. Just as we were getting into the emotional climax of the movie, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there he was, Mr. Grumpy, looking even more irate than usual. "Hey man, you need to keep it down. I have a big presentation tomorrow, and I can't concentrate with all this ruckus." Well, for starters, we were hardly making noise, plus hey, it's 11 p.m. I tried to calmly explain that we were not being loud, but he cut me off. "This isn't a sorority house, man. Show me some respect." One of my friends, Lisa, tried to intervene, suggesting that maybe he should invest in some noise-canceling headphones if he's that sensitive. He shot her a withering look and stomped off, muttering something about inconsiderate neighbors. Oh, and speaking of noise, last Sunday, guess who decided to start a do-it-yourself home project? Yeah, Mr. Grumpy at 7 a.m., The sound of a drilling and a hammer was so loud, I swear it was like he was trying to build a new wing to his house. So here I am, torn between wanting to keep the peace and being seriously fed up with this dude's behavior. Jared's coming back this weekend, and we're planning on figuring out how to approach the situation together. We've even discussed, maybe, getting a mediator involved or seeking advice from the local authorities on how to handle this, given how aggressive he's been. In the meantime, any advice would be super helpful. Jared and I really don't want to stoop to his level, but it feels like every day brings a new challenge with this guy. We're just trying to live our lives in peace, but Mr. Grumpy seems to have another plan for us. Update number 2. Hey everyone, it's been a crazy few weeks since my last update. First, thank you to everybody who's been keeping up with the post and giving advice. I never thought I'd be that guy, just chronicling his life's drama on here, but here we are, and trust me, this update is a doozy. A couple of weeks ago, my cat Whiskers went missing. It was so out of character for him. He's always been a homebody. Sure, yeah, he wanders off to sunbathe in the yard sometimes, but he always comes home at night. So when a day turned into 2, then 3, with no signs of him, I start to panic. I plastered the neighborhood with missing cat posters offering a hefty reward for any info on his whereabouts. Neighbors I didn't even know reached out expressing their concern. Except, you guessed it, Mr. Grumpy. One afternoon, as I was headed out to distribute more posters, he made an offhanded comment. Your cat? Your cat belonged in a junkyard. At first, I thought he was just being his usual rude self, getting under my skin, but he specifically, of that comment, it just bothered me. With nothing to lose, I decided to check the junkyards in my area, and honestly, I wasn't expecting much, thinking it was a long shot, but to my luck, at the second junkyard I went to, there he was, Whiskers. In a pitiful state, he ran up to me when I started calling out his name, looking very malnourished, beat up, terrified. I couldn't believe it. While there was no concrete proof that Mr. Grumpy had anything to do with it, that comment he made was just too coincidental, right? Plus, Whiskers had been in a decent health before he disappeared. How did he get so malnourished so quickly unless someone intentionally relocated him? When I found Whiskers, a rush of emotions came to me. Relief, anger, sadness. Holding my cat close, I drove home. The words junkyard just echoed in my mind with every passing minute. The possibility that Mr. Grumpy was responsible seemed plausible. And with that, anger bubbled up inside me like never before. I had to grip the steering wheel tight to calm my shaking hands. And the nerve of that man, potentially harming an innocent animal just because he didn't like its owner? My husband Jared was livid when he heard what happened. He was already fed up with the guy's antics, but this took things to a whole new level. The look on his face said it all. He was ready to march over there and give Mr. Grumpy a piece of his mind, but we had to be rational. With no solid evidence, confronting him could make things really bad. However, on my drive home with Whiskers, I won't lie, thoughts of retaliation seemed to bubble in my mind. How easy it would be to give him a taste of his own medicine. The weight of this incident is on my shoulders. It feels like the final straw. The point of no return, if you may. As I type this, Whiskers is curled up next to me, still weak, but recovering. It breaks my heart to think of what he might have gone through. And as for Mr. Grumpy, I know I need to tread carefully, right? But something's got to give. I can't let this slide. The question is, what's the best way to handle it? Update number 3. Hey guys, first, a huge thank you for all the supporting regarding Whiskers. He's recuperating, but the entire ordeal has left a lasting impact on him and me. I've been struggling with my emotions since I found him at the junkyard, and I'm being completely honest, my patience with Mr. Grumpy has been paper thin. I'll admit, the idea of revenge crossed my mind numerous times, and believe me, every snide comment, every dirty look from him only amplified my frustration. But the other day, I was watering my plants, and he walked by, and he said, "Keeping that cat indoors, I see." The audacity of that man, the unspoken insinuation made my blood boil, and when he saw Whiskers peeking through the windows, thought I'd never see him again. But it's not just the comments. There's this tension. I can't mow the lawn, check the mail, or even enjoy a quiet evening on my patio without feeling his judgmental gaze on me. It's gotten to the point where I dread every single step out of my house, but what could I do? The law could not do anything without solid proof, and any direct confrontation might escalate things. However, a few nights ago, in a moment of intense frustration and a couple of beers, I came up with a spur-of-the-moment idea. Now, I know it might not be the most mature, the most thought out, but at the moment it felt, cathartic. The idea, to pee in Mr. Grumpy's truck gas tank. Immature? Absolutely. Satisfying? You bet it. I waited until the dead of night when I was sure he was asleep, snuck out with a funnel. I found myself acting like a character from a cheap thriller, tiptoeing around like the evil villain, eyes darting everywhere. His monstrous truck was parked right outside his house, and I thought to myself, compensating for anything? Quietly, I unscrewed the gas tank lid and slipped in the funnel. Well, you know the rest. I did this for a few nights in a row, and each time the thrill of doing something, anything to get back at him was there, exhilarating. Was it the smartest move? Probably not. Was it dangerous? Yeah, it was. But after days of feeling helpless and poor Mr. Whiskers, there was something so liberating about this tiny act of rebellion. Even though I wasn't sure if it would do any real damage, it was about more than that. It was about reclaiming a semblance of power. Well, the days after felt lighter. Seeing him go to his truck, oblivious to my stunt, brought a smug satisfaction, and every rev of the engine, every time he sped away, it felt like he had taken back a piece of my sanity, and I thought, big old truck, compensating for something. But now, sitting here writing this, I can't help but question my choices. Have I sunk to his level? Probably. Is there a possibility he'll find out things and it'll get worse? Maybe. And yet a part of me does not regret it. I mean, isn't there a point when you've got to stand up and say, enough is enough? Jared does not know about my little escapades. I've kept it from him, of course, fearing he might disapprove. Any advice or insights would be immensely appreciative. Until the next update, so long. Final update. Hey, everyone. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and let's just say things have developed. I genuinely never expected this saga with Mr. Grumpy to escalate to the point it's at. And before I dive into this crazy event, I want to thank you all for sticking through me throughout the journey. The advice, feedback, and sheer camaraderie I felt from this community has been, in one word, overwhelming. First, let me address the elephant in the room. My nighttime escapades with Mr. Grumpy's truck. I know, I've read the comments. It was not the smartest or the most mature choice, but in my defense, the frustration and the need for some semblance of revenge just drove me to it. Especially after what happened to Whiskers. But as the days wore on, the gravity of what I've been going through is weighing on me. Speaking of the truck, a week ago it broke down, and I mean completely in the middle of the road broke down. I was sipping my coffee when I heard this loud spluttering sound, and looking out, I saw Mr. Grumpy furiously trying to start his truck, but to no avail. After several failed attempts, he kicked the tire, swore loudly, and stormed back inside with the door slamming. Later that day, a tow truck came and hauled it away. The sight filled me with a mix of dread and satisfaction. I mean, dread because I'm pretty certain my actions led to this, but satisfaction because, well, maybe he deserved it. That said, the guilt was eating me up. I needed to talk to someone about it, so I finally confided in Jared. I expected anger or disappointment, but his reaction was much different. He was worried, not just about the reaction of the potential repercussions if Mr. Grumpy ever found out about it, being me. The anger and despair that he'd driven me to such steps. I mean, you can't tell him, he firmly stated, for your safety and ours. Jared and I had been having several long discussions about the entire situation. It's more than just the truck or the missing cat living next door to Mr. Grumpy. It's become a daily ordeal. We've started discussing the possibility of moving. Maybe a fresh start away from the toxic neighbor is what we need. Anyways, on the Mr. Grumpy front, things remain tense. Our paths cross occasionally, and you can tell we don't like each other. It's nothing but hostility. He throws some dirty looks, these sneers, but there's a new edge to them now, a sort of smugness, as if he's on to me, but he's never said anything directly to me about the truck, and neither do I. It's the silence in the air, the ongoing battle between us, and frankly, I'm done. I just want peace, whether that's in this house or somewhere else. In hindsight, I regret my actions, I do. I let my emotions get the better of me. While it felt good in the moment, it's clear now that such impulsive decisions can have lasting consequences. Not just on Mr. Grumpy's truck, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deeper, peace of mind. But on my relationship with Jared and our sense of safety in our own home, this chapter is coming to a close. I mean, I find myself wrestling with a simple question to finish this off asking you with. Am I the a-hole? Did I go too far? Was this rash act of defiance justified given the torment I endured? I want to know your thoughts. Thank you everyone for being part of this. Whatever the future holds for Jared and me, I'll just always cherish the lessons learned and the support I've received, so thank you once again. Comment number 1 from the post. Bro, not the a-hole at all. Look, we all have moments where we do dumb things out of sheer emotion. You were driven to the edge by Mr. Grumpy's constant provocations. Yeah, maybe urinating in his truck wasn't the most mature move, but dude literally kidnapped your cat and dumped it at a junkyard. That's next level, dude. Not the a-hole. Comment number 2. Not the a-hole. As a fellow 36-year-old, I understand the urge to sometimes let off steam, especially when you've been pushed to the absolute brink. It's easy for others to just judge from the outside, but living next to a constant source of negativity and hostility, it takes a toll on you, I can understand.
What Mr. Grumpy did with your cat is beyond reprehensible. And while I recommend damaging property as a coping strategy, I can see why you felt that cathartic need to release some stress. Not the a-hole. Final comment. I'm going to go against the grain here. You are the a-hole. I'm all for defending yourself, but tampering with somebody's vehicle is dangerous and could have resulted in much worse outcomes. Think about this. He's driving down the interstate one day and something goes wrong with his car because it's half full of pee. Well, he wrecks. Something happens to him. Bada bing, bada boom, they put one together and you are responsible. So therefore, you're the a-hole, but hey, I do feel bad for Mr. Whiskers.
Alright, so that was an interesting revenge story. I have to be honest though, if somebody messes with my pet, my cat, or my dog, I'm going to have to get some revenge of my own. And I want to know your opinion about this one in the comment section down below. Here's the question. Do you guys believe Mr. Grumpy deserved to have his truck filled with urine when it comes to the gas tank for messing with Mr. Whiskers? Or do you think that OP simply went too far? Let me know your thoughts down below. That's the question of the story. Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the channel if you're new here. This is Mr. Reddito's Revenge channel, where every story has something to do with revenge or karma. And if you guys enjoy these sort of stories, you're gonna want to hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys enjoyed it once again. I'll see you tomorrow. And even though this is a revenge channel, just remember one thing. It's cool to be kind. Peace.